Imagine this. You step into an Uber, expecting a routine ride home. The driver greets you with a polite nod. Everything seems normal, until you realize the route is unfamiliar. The streetlights become scarce, the roads quieter. Your heart starts pounding, and then the driver locks the doors. Tonight we dive into 3 terrifying true Uber horror stories. Accounts from real passengers who experienced something far worse than just a bad ride. Some made it out with a chilling tale to tell, others weren't so lucky. Ride-sharing apps like Uber have revolutionized travel, making it easier than ever to get from one place to another. But behind the convenience, there are dark stories that most people don't talk about. From unsettling encounters to life-threatening situations, these tales will make you think twice before your next ride. So buckle up, stay alert, and watch till the end. Because what you're about to hear might just save your life. Welcome to Dark Whisper, where the shadows hold stories waiting to be told. If you love eerie true horror, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because some nightmares are real. The night air was cool, and the city hummed softly in the distance. Natalie sat on the edge of her bed, running her fingers along the edges of her phone. She had ordered an Uber hundreds of times before. It was second nature by now, but tonight felt different. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the way her hands trembled slightly as she tapped on the app. Maybe it was the uneasy feeling she had been carrying all day. But she pushed the thoughts aside. Routine. That's all it was. She needed to pick up a few things from a store about 15 minutes away. Not too far. She double-checked the address just to be sure, then pressed confirm. Within minutes, the app announced that her driver had arrived. Natalie grabbed her cane, slid on her coat, and stepped outside. The car idled at the curb, engine humming softly. She reached for the door handle, but before she could touch it, the door opened from the inside. "Hey there, you Natalie?" a man's voice asked. She nodded. "Yes. This is for the store on Lexington, right?" "Yep," the driver said. "Hop in." She slid into the back seat, buckling up as the door shut beside her. The scent of air freshener filled the space, almost too strong, clinging to her throat. The car pulled away from the curb, the familiar sensation of motion calming her slightly. The ride was mostly quiet. She could hear the low hum of the radio, a faint crackle in the speaker, the occasional sigh from the driver. Then, after what felt like too long, the car slowed. The tires crunched over uneven pavement, a subtle shift in the texture of the road. "We're here," the driver said. Natalie hesitated. It didn't feel right. The air was too still, too empty. She listened harder. No distant chatter, no footsteps, no background noise of a busy street. "This is Lexington, right?" she asked. Yeah, you're good." Something inside her twisted, but she forced herself to trust the process. People made mistakes. Maybe they parked a little further from the entrance than usual. She reached for the door handle, fingers brushing against the cool metal. "Have a good one," the driver mumbled. She stepped out onto the pavement, the door clicking shut behind her. The car idled for a second longer, then it sped away. And just like that, she was alone. The first thing she noticed was the silence. It stretched around her, thick and unnatural. She tapped her cane forward, feeling the ground beneath her. Not smooth concrete like she had expected. It was cracked, uneven. A sidewalk in disrepair. Her stomach tightened. She turned slightly, listening. No sounds of passing cars. No store doors opening and closing. Just the distant rustle of leaves. The occasional drip of water somewhere nearby. She fumbled for her phone, hands shaking now. She pressed the button for her location. No service. Her breath caught. That wasn't possible. Not here. Not in the middle of the city. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Okay. Think. There had to be a building nearby. Someone who could help. She took a careful step forward, then another. Her cane tapped against something solid. A wall, rough, cold. Not glass, not a storefront. She swallowed hard. Where the hell was she? A noise behind her, a rustling, slow, deliberate. She froze, grip tightening on her cane. "Hello?" she called out. Her voice sounded small in the vast emptiness. No response. The rustling stopped. Her breath came faster now. "Move, find someone, get out." She turned, taking careful steps forward. The air felt heavier here, damp with the smell of rain-soaked pavement and something else, something metallic. Then a faint sound. A footstep? Number A shuffle. Closer this time. "Is someone there?" she asked again, voice firm but edged with fear. Nothing. Her pulse pounded in her ears. She fumbled for the emergency button on her phone, praying it would work despite the lack of service. Her finger hovered over the screen when a laugh, low, almost a whisper, right behind her. Natalie spun around, breath catching in her throat. But there was nothing, just the endless, suffocating darkness. She took a shaky step backward, then another, a crunch beneath her foot. Glass? Gravel? She didn't know, but the sound of her own movement sent her adrenaline spiking. She needed to move. Now she turned and started walking, faster now. Her cane tapped against the pavement in rapid succession. She didn't know where she was going. She just needed to find light, find people. Then, finally, something. A distant hum of an engine, the faint glow of headlights cutting through the dark. Relief crashed over her like a wave. She practically ran toward it, waving her arms. "Hey, please, wait!" The car slowed. A window rolled down. "Miss, you okay?" The voice was warm, concerned. Natalie nodded frantically. I think I was dropped off at the wrong place. I need help." The driver hesitated, then said, "Where were you headed?" "The store. On Lexington." A pause. Then, "Miss, this isn't anywhere near Lexington. You're on the outskirts of town." Her stomach dropped. "Do you need a ride?" the man offered. She hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to be careful, but she didn't have much of a choice. "I'll call the police," the driver added quickly. "You can wait in the car if you want." That was enough to make her trust him. She climbed into the passenger seat, locking the door behind her. The man dialed the police, explaining the situation. As he spoke, Natalie's mind raced. How had she gotten here? Had the driver really made a mistake? Or had it been intentional? She thought of the way the car had sped off, the way the silence had swallowed her the moment she stepped out. Something told her it wasn't an accident, and she wasn't supposed to find her way back. The city pulsed with energy, neon lights reflecting off wet pavement, as laughter and music spilled from the bars lining the streets. Midtown Manhattan never slept, but tonight, it felt even more alive. Camilla stepped onto the curb, pulling her coat tighter around her shoulders. The late-night breeze was sharper than she expected. She had just wrapped up a birthday celebration with a few close friends, dinner at a high-end restaurant, drinks at a rooftop lounge, and now, exhaustion settling in. She wasn't just any partygoer. Camilla was an influencer, her life meticulously documented online. Every event, every dinner, every outfit was content. Even tonight, she had live-streamed snippets of the evening, capturing the glittering skyline behind her. Now, all she wanted was to get home. She pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over the Uber app. The streets were packed. Taxis zipped by, already occupied. Groups of people crowded the sidewalk, all trying to do the same thing: leave. She tapped for an Uber XL. Bigger, more comfortable. A little luxury to end the night. The price popped up. $89. Expensive for a short trip, but it was late, and she didn't want to wait. She confirmed the ride. A minute later, her phone buzzed. Driver arriving, black Chevrolet Suburban. Camilla exhaled, relieved. She scanned the street, spotting the SUV rolling up to the curb. The headlights cast long shadows, and for a moment the world seemed quieter. She stepped forward, opening the back door. "Hi, for Camilla." The driver, a man in his late 40s with a thick New York accent, nodded. "Yep, hop in." She slid onto the leather seat, sighing as the city sounds muffled behind the closed door. "Crazy night?" the driver asked. "Yeah," she chuckled. "Birthday party." He nodded, merging into traffic. "Nice. You live in the East Side, right?" "Yep," she confirmed. The ride should have been quick, 20, maybe 30 minutes tops. But as they inched forward, Camilla felt her stomach sink. Traffic wasn't moving. She glanced out the window. The street was a sea of brake lights, red glowing like a never-ending ribbon stretching into the distance. The honking had become relentless, an orchestra of frustration. Her phone buzzed, a message from her friend. "You get home yet? We're stuck in traffic. It's insane." She typed back. "Same. Barely moving." The minutes ticked by. 20, 30, 45. The SUV crawled forward at a snail's pace. Camilla leaned forward. "Hey, is there another route?" The driver sighed. "Not really. Road closures, accidents, everything's backed up." She checked the app. The estimated arrival time had changed. 1 hour and 15 minutes. Her frustration bubbled up, but she forced herself to stay calm. It wasn't the driver's fault. The city was unpredictable. Another half hour passed. They were barely halfway. Camilla's head rested against the window now, exhaustion creeping in. Her phone's battery hovered at 8%. She watched the numbers on the meter climb higher and higher. The $89 she had agreed to felt like a distant memory now. Finally, the traffic eased. The SUV picked up speed, weaving through the quieter streets. When they finally reached her apartment, the clock read 2:47 a.m. 2 hours. A ride that should have been 30 minutes had become a slow-motion nightmare. She unlocked her phone, tapping the Uber app to leave a tip and end the ride. Then she saw it. Total fare, $321. Her breath caught in her throat. "What the hell?" she muttered. She refreshed the page, hoping it was some kind of glitch. But no, the number stayed the same, bold and unforgiving. "Everything okay?" the driver asked. She clenched her jaw. "Yeah." She didn't want to argue. He wasn't in control of the pricing. Stepping out onto the curb, she watched as the SUV rolled away, taillights disappearing into the night. The cold air stung her cheeks as she stood frozen, staring at the ridiculous charge on her screen. $321. Her stomach twisted. No way was this right. She clicked through the breakdown. The base fare, the time spent in traffic, the added surge pricing, it all stacked up dollar by dollar until it became something absurd. She opened Twitter, fingers flying across the screen. "Uber just charged me $321 for a ride that was supposed to be $89. 2 hours in traffic. This is insane. What am I even paying for?" Within minutes, the tweet exploded. Comments poured in. "Happened to me once. Uber's surge pricing is a scam. That's robbery. You should dispute it as soon as possible." Camilla's heart pounded. She was used to viral moments, but this wasn't the kind she wanted. She opened the Uber app and hit dispute charge. Her message was blunt. The quoted price was $89. Due to unforeseen traffic, the ride took nearly 2 hours, and I was charged an outrageous $321. I'm requesting a refund of the additional charges. She hit send and waited. Hours passed. She scrolled through Twitter, watching as more people shared their horror stories. People being charged hundreds for airport rides. Surge pricing making fares unpredictable. Finally, a notification. Uber support. We've reviewed your case and adjusted your fare accordingly. The additional surge charges have been refunded. Your total has been revised to $94. Apologies for the inconvenience. Camilla exhaled, relief washing over her. She checked her account. The refund had already processed. She picked up her phone, opening Twitter again. Update. Uber refunded the overcharge. Always dispute if your fare seems wrong. They count on people not checking. The replies flooded in. People thanking her, sharing their own experiences, warning others. As she set her phone down and climbed into bed, exhaustion finally took over. The night had been long, frustrating, and absurdly expensive for a moment, but at least in the end she hadn't let them win. San Francisco shimmered with life. Fireworks crackled in the distance, their colors reflecting off the glass towers of the city. The streets buzzed with energy, cars honking, people laughing, music spilling from bars. It was New Year's Eve and everyone was celebrating. Among them was the Liu family. Juan and Mei Liu had planned this night for weeks. A quiet family dinner, a short ride to the waterfront to watch the fireworks, then home before the chaos of midnight. Their 6-year-old daughter, Sophia, had been counting down the days. She loved fireworks, the way they lit up the sky, the way they seemed to turn night into day. Juan pulled out his phone, opening the Uber app. The streets were packed, and finding a cab was impossible. A ride popped up, blue Honda CR-V, arriving in 3 minutes. "Car's almost here," Juan told his wife, adjusting Sophia's bright red coat. The little girl beamed, her tiny fingers wrapped around a glow stick she had begged for earlier. She hopped excitedly on the sidewalk, her breath visible in the cold night air. The car arrived. The driver, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, gave a brief nod. "Happy New Year," he mumbled as the family climbed in. May settled Sophia into the middle seat, buckling her in. The SUV pulled away from the curb, merging into the stream of traffic. The city blurred past them. Neon signs, towering billboards, people cheering on the sidewalks. Inside the car, Sophia pressed her face against the window, her eyes wide with wonder. "When will we see the fireworks?" she asked. "Soon," May assured her. "Just a few more minutes." But the ride wasn't smooth. The roads were jammed, the driver weaving between lanes, his fingers drumming against the wheel. "Lot of traffic tonight," he muttered. Juan noticed the way the driver kept glancing at his phone, checking for faster routes. The Uber app had rerouted them twice already, each time pushing them through different back streets. Then, at an intersection, the driver exhaled sharply. "Shortcut," he said, turning sharply onto a side street. It was quieter here, fewer cars, fewer people. But still, there were pedestrians. Some waiting at crosswalks, others rushing to get to their parties before midnight. Sophia had started humming to herself, swinging her glow stick, oblivious to the tension rising in the front seat. The driver tapped his phone again. Then the light ahead turned red. The car slowed, but not enough. From the corner of his eye, Juan saw movement, a small figure stepping into the street, and then a sickening thud. The world seemed to stop. The car jolted. A scream tore through the night. May clutched Sophia instinctively, her breath catching in her throat. Outside, a woman's voice shattered the air. "My baby! Someone help!" The driver's hands were shaking. I didn't see." Juan's heart pounded as he turned toward the window, and that's when he saw her. A little girl, no older than Sophia, lying motionless on the pavement. Her mother collapsed beside her, sobbing, her hands hovering over the tiny, lifeless body. A discarded party hat lay a few feet away. People screamed. A crowd gathered. Someone was already on the phone with 911. May's grip on Sophia tightened as tears spilled down her cheeks. The driver's face was pale. He stared ahead, frozen. I swear, she ran out of nowhere. The sirens came fast. Red and blue lights flashed against the buildings as police cars skidded to a stop. Officers rushed forward, pulling the driver from the car. Juan, May, and Sophia sat in stunned silence. The world around them felt distant, muffled. An officer knocked on the window. "Everyone okay?" Juan nodded, his throat dry. He glanced at Sophia, her wide eyes filled with fear, clutching her glow stick like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. The driver was placed in handcuffs. His voice cracked as he tried to explain. "It wasn't my fault. I wasn't speeding. Vehicular manslaughter. That's what they called it. The street was blocked off now. People whispered, shook their heads. A tragedy on a night meant for celebration. But as the Lius were escorted to another vehicle, something gnawed at Juan. Who was this driver? How had Uber let him work tonight? Had they checked his history, his record? May held Sophia close as the fireworks finally began, their bursts of color painting the sky. But no one in that car was watching. Tonight, we've explored 3 chilling stories where what seemed like an ordinary ride turned into a nightmare. From a woman who vanished without a trace, to a passenger trapped in a car that wasn't what it seemed, and finally, a tragic accident that changed lives forever. These stories remind us that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places. Ride-sharing apps have made travel more convenient, but they also come with risks. Always stay alert, double-check your driver's details, and trust your instincts. Your safety should always come first. Have you ever had an unsettling or strange experience while using a ride-sharing service? Share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video and want more spine-chilling stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Stay safe out there. And remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that could happen to any of us.